Welcome back to 3 Delirium. My name is AJ, and this week we're going to touch back on last week's project as well. So last week I pointed out that my water bottle here has had quite the life, and it had quite a few dents on the bottom of this stainless steel body. Now that meant when I sat it down somewhere it would wobble all over the place and would never set level. So I made and printed myself a little cap to go on the bottom that would help it to sit level. Now the cap that I printed fits perfectly and super snug, but it turns out to be actually a 20-sided parallelogram instead of being actually round to fit on the bottom here. Now that's not really a problem, it fits perfectly fine. I was definitely just looking for a functional print. I don't need anything to look super pretty on this, but a friend of mine did ask if it was possible to print an actual round one, and I didn't know the answer to that. So let's set out today to see if we can print an actual round circle instead of just a rather complex parallelogram. So stick around with me here and we'll see what we can come up with. Well, the original software that I used to design the cap that I used last week was Tinkercad. Its namesake website hosts the service online, and you would take multiple geometric shapes. You take a cube or a cone or a sphere, and you just manipulate them, combine, subtract, add, and group together to form the objects that you want. And that was the method for which I was able to make this cap here. So I was able to essentially take a cylinder and then a smaller cylinder and make the software think the smaller cylinder was a void. And so when I combined the two together, it made a void in the larger cylinder that was the size of the smaller cylinder. And that came up with what we have here, which I'm very happy with. But let's take a look at Sketchup to see if we can do it any differently. Now here with Sketchup, we have a plane, a kind of an infinite three-dimensional plane with all these axes. But Sketchup differs from Tinkercad in that the way that I have to think about how I make this. So not only am I returning to a software that I haven't really touched in months, I also kind of have to reconceptualize what I want to make and how I want to make it. Now the easiest way that I've known to use this software is I'm going to have to make a two-dimensional render of a cross-section of this whole entire final product, and then kind of project it around in a circle to get the item that I want. So I started with a flat circle to get the overall dimensions of the final product, and then I have to add the like limiting measurements to kind of help it, because SketchUp has the whatever it thinks you want to snap to. So snap to the center or snap to the next closest line, which can be very helpful at times, but other times it ruins projects. So I like to create ahead of time things for them to then snap to. So I made my little L, I added some curved lines, and then I have to take all of that, clean it up so I can make the extrusion all in one pass. A hole in the middle like I'd planned on before. Now there are some imperfections around the edge and the part that would have been rounded, but overall it would have the same effect as before. So now when we take this into the slicing software, so the software to turn our 3D file into something that the printer can understand, is still a bit of a parallelogram. That might not be able to be avoided with this software as well. So it looks like SketchUp is a no-go for creating my perfectly round project. Well, moving on to the next one. Alright, and here we have Microsoft 3D Builder. Very similar to both other programs actually. So you're working here on an infinite void that goes off forever, just like on SketchUp. But I have the measurements kind of already laid out, just like in Tinkercad. But essentially, what I hope to do is very similar to Tinkercad as well. I need to take some 3D objects and add and subtract, manipulate them with each other to hopefully create the object that I'm looking for. I have used 3D Builder in the past to take files that already exist and modify them, repair them, add, subtract things that way. I've never actually built anything in 3D Builder, so I kind of have to figure out both what the translations are and what I need to do. My assumption, since it's working with geometric objects and stuff, is that it will work similar to Tinkercad. I have my two objects here that I want. They are both just a simple cylinder. I wanted to create the smaller cylinder. I'll set them in line with the larger cylinder and then hope there's a button that will treat one as a void and one as the object. And that does indeed seem to be what I found here. Now, I attempted to make a hole in the center, but one of the downsides of 3D, I have two cylinders, there's no beveled edge in the bottom, there's no hole in the middle. Again, it's purely practical, because at this point, I just want to see if it'll be round. So I have my cup, I finally made it, found the button, and now let's export that to our slicing software again. Now here we are in, zooming close here, we see that the object has rounded edges, there aren't corners, it looks like this was a success. Now, I did touch on this back in December when I made my Christmas or end of the year, what did I learn this year in 3D printing video. I very easily could print this success. Don't smoke, so it can't be an ashtray, and I have plenty of little dishes to hold tools, to hold items. I don't want to end up with a wasted piece. So while yes, it's not exactly what I want, I think I'll just wait until maybe it breaks or I need to replace it in general, and then I'll go with a more refined 3D Builder version of what I'm trying to make here. Now, this is not necessarily the outcome I would have expected, but it's fascinating nonetheless. So while yes, I will be sticking with the cap that I currently have, it is good to know that it's not just inherent that I can't create round objects with 3D printer. It's good to see that it is all about the software you use to make it. Now, in the future, certainly I will have a better one, but there's no reason to waste material or anything like that. So what did you think? Do you have a software that you suggest that I would use instead? There is a software that I know many people in the 3D making community on YouTube use called AutoCAD, and I have yet to try that myself. Well, I didn't mention it before, but the big reason I didn't want to use my wife's computer is I currently have a Mac, and not only was I translating French or translating the software, I also needed to translate how to just use the PC in general. So I have a lot to learn when it comes to going back to a PC, which might be happening in the near future. But if you enjoyed what I made today, if you have any suggestions or anything like that, just leave them down in the comments down below. If you liked my investigative process, go ahead and leave a like on the video if you'd like. But nonetheless, I will definitely see you next week here in 3 Delirium, where we can all hallucinate about the possibilities of 3D printing. I'll see you then.